Hi guys, Terry here with Truth in Numbers. WTH. What the heck? Uh, to be expected and still feels different. Today is Saturday, February 1st, 2025. And yesterday we saw some significant beginnings of the gutting of the FBI. Alarming, and yet not necessarily unexpected, honestly. But here we are living through it, and it took me a few hours here to kind of figure out, to find my feet. Yeah, and the goal is to find my feet sooner rather than later, and respond appropriately. So it honestly felt yesterday in listening to the news, and thank you for those who have honestly reported it with clarity and with a straight eye at what's going on. So thank you very much. It felt like tanks rolling in, honestly. And it felt like, I'll tell you what it felt like. It felt like with no response publicly, no coordinated response. It felt like we were just laying down and letting it roll. Now, is that reality? I can't say that it is, but I can tell you that's how it felt yesterday, and it felt that way the first thing this morning. I've seen inklings of things happening behind the scenes. It's time for action now, guys. It's time. It's time for action now. It's time for people in the public, and I'll make my case for it. I don't know that that's not going to be a thing, but my goodness, now is the time to do it in IMO, in my opinion. So I don't have my light on because it's kind of makes the video a little weird looking. So bear with me while I read here in front of me in a little bit darker of a room than I would prefer. So what are my notes? What have I said? What have I said? I would prefer for us to en masse oppose this. I think sooner rather than later is the best course of action. Again, thinking about my own thing, what I can do. And here's what I would say. Okay, here's a thought that I had. Sorry, it's taking me a while to read in the dark here, but Red State America, people I live around, work with, in my family, friends, countrymen, they deserve to know when it started, the slow coup, the slow rolling coup. They might not understand that these protests or the signs I put up or whatever I choose to do, they may not understand that that means coups happening right now, starting, all that. But they can go back to the mass protests, which I wish we had today, or to that lady up on top of the street who put out the signs. Who knows? But I think that is a service that we can do to them because, and I'll talk about this in a minute, there will be a turning point. There will be a tipping point. I want to use the phrase tipping point. I think it would be very helpful and will be a service to people who voted for Trump, and even the people who didn't, who are just buried in their own lives trying to figure out how to make it through the day, that this is when it started. That's my 10 cents. I'm going to keep moving. So in the midst of this energizing, situation internally that you can feel here on this video, and with the bigness of what's happening right now with the FBI and other places too, I don't want to minimize that, but I just want to say the FBI thing has hit me. And it's not unexpected, but it still feels very significant and alarming. I have to go back to this practice of well-being, right? I'm going to start or go into this next. I've already started, but let's go into this next and then head on to a couple of other things. I know I'm safe right now. Now, not everybody can say that. Not everybody can say that. So There are some people who aren't safe right now. There are less numbers than probably going to be in a while, but for me, that's where I'm at. There are also people who are safe, but they don't feel safe because of the fear that they feel. So that's a reality as well. Do the self-check. Am I safe right now? I don't feel safe because of all this external stuff, but you know what? Actually, I have a roof over my head, and, you know, I have food in my belly, and I hydrated. So that's the baseline that I'm going to today, guys. That's my baseline. So there are still blessings in my life, even though, you know, we're in historic times. Friends, family, decent weather, surroundings, home, nature, beauty, wherever I can seek and find it. I still have good things that I can do. And I think being a good person and acting in goodness, doing good things is important. And thankfully, boom, they're right there for me to do. I didn't even realize this until I'm like, I want to do some good things today. But here's, you know, I put out a nut log for the woodpeckers because I have about 4 different species of woodpeckers at my bird feeder. So I had gotten this extra seed log, nut log. I put it out today because I needed, my heart needed to do that for these creatures. So in the grand scheme of things, insignificant, small, but it means something to my heart, and it keeps my well-being going. I'll be helping later today. A friend of mine put pictures up on a wall, on several walls actually. So that's something. Giving away some extra Christmas cocos. I have these really beautiful Christmas cocos that are extra from the holidays, and so there are a couple of families with kids on the block, and I'm going to take those to them. Maybe not today, but tomorrow. And then I've ran across one of my favorite stores today, doing an errand this morning, but it was 9:30. It wasn't 10 o'clock yet. So I think I'm going to try to get back there today and just treat myself to some window shopping. And what else do I have? Oh, being here with you guys. This means a lot to me. You guys mean a lot to me. And, you know, more on that at other times, but that's important. So I have a bit of a non sequitur now to kind of go through. And that is just in reviewing some social media over the last few days, it's just kind of been bubbling up for me. And it's to name the correct source for certain things. My first example is where we didn't get it right. Well, we did in some regard. So back when there was a lot of dysfunction in the government, I want to say prior to 2016 and even after that, there was stuff not getting done in the government. And people were like, the government doesn't work. The government doesn't work anymore. We need something different. The government doesn't work anymore. The appropriate name for that was Mitch McConnell. That was the appropriate name. Not the government. It's Mitch McConnell. Stopping the government from working. Things not happening because of Mitch. Look, I'm going to say it again. Mitch McConnell. An architect of stuckness in the government. And for months and months and months, if not years, we didn't pin the tail on the donkey for that one. And a lot of people became convinced that we had a stuck government, so we had to do some drastic measures. We had to vote somebody in who could break things, because that's the only way we could get anything done. When the reality is, I'm going on a riff here, this is not my notes. The reality is that people justify breaking things, but they wouldn't have to break anything if they were halfway decent at being a politician or a policymaker or a policy implementer or a manager, all that stuff. So just a lot of dysfunction. And honestly, our enemies like to disseminate dysfunction like no tomorrow. I'm done with that. Anyway. So the two things that I wanted to talk about today in this non sequitur is that let's name the right thing. It's easy to say Trump this and Trump that and Trump this. But honestly, guys, it's the machine behind him. It's the Federalist Society. It's the puppeteers. It's the system and the machine behind him. Trump will come and go. Hopefully the machine will be dismantled enough to where it's going to be ineffectual. But I think it's important to name the right name. Because honestly, they're not the ones. He's not the one that's writing this stuff up. He's the puppet. They're the puppeteers. The second thing that I think would be helpful for today is for us to address, instead of MAGA, red state people, Trump voters, is to pin the tail on the hind end of the media. Who has the media owns the state, guys. And the citizens that I live around and work around, they've just been manipulated by military-grade psyops to believe what they believe, to vote the way they vote. If we continue to, and I haven't seen this a lot lately, but if we continue to go point our fingers at red staters and wholesale blame them for all this stuff, I mean, there's culpability, there's responsibility, etc. I get that. But to the extent that we focus so much on the people versus the media behind the manipulation of the people, we're going to be set up better for disunity and division. If we focus on the media and the machine behind the media and the manipulation from the media, we're going to be better set up to walk into unification and unity. Just saying. So let's go on to this tipping point. I really do believe that there will come a time when Trump voters see what's really going on. And a few weeks ago, I was having my own Bible reading time, and I'm going to go there. It was important to me. So Isaiah 20 verses 5 and 6. And again, I'm going to try to read in the dark here, guys. So this is what this says. This is a New American Standard Bible version. Then they shall be dismayed and ashamed because of Cush their hope and Egypt their boast. So the inhabitants of this coastland will say in that day, behold, such is our hope, where we had fled for help to be delivered from the king of Assyria, and we, how shall we escape? So this is basically a time when Israel, there was a season of time when Israel depended on Egypt and Cush to protect them from something, from the king of Assyria. And then the time came for when they realized that they had put their hope in these kingdoms, and they were instead of God, and then now they're trying to figure out where their hope is going to come from. And I pray that the evangelical church in America, of which I still consider myself, starts asking that question pretty soon. You guys' thoughts turn into actions. Actions turn into consequences. And that's why this tipping point is going to happen. I really believe that. And when that happens, the DNA of our American heritage is going to kick in even more. And I think even though we may not, those of us normies, may not understand how or when or why, we'll get through this, and how or when or why we have a fighting chance here. I don't think we have to know that right now. I think we need to know that we can hold our heads up high. We can walk through this with a somewhat level of courage at this point and say we're not going to be daunted. And again, I want to say we need to push back. We need to push back locally. I think local pushback, decentralized pushback, is going to help our friends and neighbors, our countrymen with proximity, to understand and see, because they're not necessarily going to get news coverage of something really big. They may, but they may not. And it's not going to have the same impact as if we do this thing locally. We've done it before. We've got the infrastructure. I just am not sure why there hasn't been a call here in my town. At least one that I know about. So, and believe me, I looked. So, and maybe I don't know where to look. And if I don't know where to look, then we're missing out on decent comms. So, anyway. We need to make a lot of noise. So, we're Americans. We need to not descend into this rolling coup, into fascism, quietly. We will not remain in fascism. And I really believe that we're going to run these autocrats and oligarchs out of our government, out of our country, off this continent. They have no place here. Because you know what, guys? We do democracy. That's what we do. We're flipping Americans. This is historic times. We've known this has been historic times. It's protracted much more than we thought. You know, we're 21st century people, so we thought this would be over in a couple of years. So that's not the case. We're 21st century people. We're Americans. Everything's at our fingertips. Things happen fast. And yet this is a fight that is years long, decades long. You guys, this is a fight for as long as it takes. We're the ones living here at this time, and it's whether we like it or not, whether we want to deal with it or not, whether, here's the thing, whether we feel equipped to deal with it or not, whether we feel strong enough to deal with it or not. So this was I'm going to consider this week with the capstone of the week being the FBI stuff. This is the first shot over the bow. It's not the first thing the administration's done, but it's the first shot that's gone all the way over the bow into the other ship. And we might not feel strong enough. We might have fear. And I just want to say, let's call out in each other those reserves, those places in ourselves where we have love of country, where the fighting spirit is. We have been so very comfortable. The West has so very comfortable, and thankfully so, guys. Thankfully so. And so we need to dig deep and find the fight in us. I know that so many have it, and we just need to sustain it, manage it, so we don't get worn out and drop out. This is ours to do, and we're going to do it together, and we're going to do this together until it's done. Until it's done. We're not going to give up. We're not going to lose hope. We're not doing this alone. You guys, we're doing this together. So thank you for listening. I didn't turn off my notifications beforehand, and I'm getting so many more this morning than I usually do. So that's good. People are noticing, people are caring. So thank you for this time. Thank you for being out there. And I will post a little bit later this weekend something about grieving that I've done, a post that I did earlier this week. But I didn't feel like I could post that today because of the FBI stuff. I just felt like I wanted to talk about that more directly. Whew. Let's take care of ourselves, right? It's harder now. It's harder when the pitch is higher. It's harder, but we've got some legwork that we've done already. We've got some muscle memory. And we know that we need to do this self-care. We know we need to take the breaks when we need to take them. We need to go love on people. We need to breathe. We need to do the oxytocin. Those of us who are Christians, let's put on the armor of God. Yeah. Let's not forget to pray. I'm not posting prayers in the season. That may change. We need to be praying. And those of us who aren't people of faith, you know, do your thing. You know, let's do our thing. What works for us? What is our thing? So, love to you all. Really much affection. Really, really much affection. And let's look for the good today. As you can hear my voice shake a little bit, you know, I'm emotional, but I wanted to get on earlier rather than later because I do have some commitments. And so you're seeing me a little bit more raw, a little bit more energized, but I'm processing through it, and as we all will. And I look forward to seeing you next time. So bye for now, guys. Take care.